Greg Gutfeld, the sharp-witted host of The Five on Fox News, is no stranger to fiery political commentary. His latest target? The View's Sunny Hostin. Their clash quickly became a media sensation, drawing attention to a controversy that unfolded on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show that delves into the ancestral histories of well-known figures. What was uncovered about Hostin's lineage ignited a firestorm of criticism, prompting Gutfeld to deliver a searing critique on hypocrisy, accountability, and the performative nature of outrage in modern discourse. Sunny Hostin has built a reputation as a passionate advocate for racial justice and reparations. On The View, she frequently spearheads discussions on systemic inequality and historical injustices, demanding that America reckon with its past. Her rhetoric is often uncompromising, painting issues in stark moral terms and calling for reparative measures to address the sins of history. But the tables turned dramatically when her own ancestry was put under the microscope. During her appearance on Finding Your Roots, Hostin was visibly stunned when host Henry Louis Gates Jr. presented her with documents tracing her family lineage to Spanish ancestors who owned slaves. "I had always thought of myself as Puerto Rican," she admitted, her disbelief evident. The moment was thick with discomfort as Hostin grappled with the stark contrast between her public persona and the unsettling reality of her family's past. Enter Greg Gutfeld, who wasted no time dismantling Hostin's response with his trademark blend of humor and incisive analysis. On his Fox News program, he dedicated an extensive segment to dissecting what he saw as blatant hypocrisy. "This might just be the irony of the year," Gutfeld quipped. Sunny Hostin, who spends her mornings preaching to America about systemic injustice, discovers her own family was a direct part of the system she condemns. And her reaction? A shrug. He painted a vivid picture of Hostin's reaction, or avoidance, as emblematic of a broader problem in activist rhetoric: the ease with which certain figures demand accountability from others while sidestepping it themselves. Gutfeld's commentary struck a chord with critics who have long accused Hostin of using a moral high ground that, in light of her own family's history, suddenly appeared shaky. As the debate raged on, questions arose about whether Hostin would address the revelation in a more meaningful way. Would she acknowledge the contradiction between her advocacy and her personal history? Or would she continue to downplay its significance? The controversy underscored a recurring issue in political and social discourse: how individuals respond when their own principles are put to the test. For Gutfeld, this was more than just an amusing media moment. It was a textbook example of selective outrage. And as he continued to hammer the point home, his audience eagerly followed, watching. As yet, another high-profile figure struggled to reconcile their public stance with an inconvenient personal truth. Greg Gutfeld's takedown of Sunny Hostin was more than just a sharp critique. It was a broader commentary on the pitfalls of identity politics and the dangers of performative outrage. "This is what happens when you spend your career searching for racism in every corner of life," Gutfeld quipped. "Eventually, you find it, even in your own family tree." His words resonated with many, sparking a wave of discussion and debate online. Social media erupted in response to Hostin's revelation and Gutfeld's commentary. On platforms like Twitter and Instagram, memes and biting remarks flooded in. Some users took a humorous approach, posting tweets such as, "Sunny Hostin's ancestors were slave owners. Guess she owes herself reparations now." Others adopted a more serious tone, calling her out for failing to confront the implications of her family history. "If you're going to preach accountability, you'd better practice it," one user wrote. Hostin's supporters, however, rallied behind her, arguing that she shouldn't be judged for the actions of ancestors she never knew. "No one chooses their family history," one defender tweeted. "We should focus on what Sunny does with this information, not on what her ancestors did." But even among those who defended her, there was an underlying sentiment that she had missed an opportunity. She could have used this moment to show how we all have complicated histories, another commenter noted. Instead, she shrugged it off, and that's disappointing. For Gutfeld, this wasn't just about Hostin. It was emblematic of a much larger problem within progressive activism. He argued that there is a tendency to scrutinize the pasts of others while ignoring one's own blind spots. The controversy also sparked deeper questions about the responsibilities of public figures when faced with uncomfortable truths. Should Hostin have taken more time to process and publicly reflect on her family's history? Should she have acknowledged how this revelation might challenge or refine her views on accountability and reparations? Or was it unfair to expect her to bear responsibility for events that occurred generations before her birth? These questions remain at the heart of the ongoing debate. Even within the setting of The View, the fallout from Hostin's revelation was telling. Her co-hosts, including Whoopi Goldberg, seemed hesitant to address the issue directly. Goldberg, known for her strong opinions, appeared uncharacteristically reserved, offering only brief remarks before moving on. The silence surrounding the controversy spoke volumes, leaving audiences wondering whether the discussion was being deliberately avoided. As the dust settles, one thing remains clear. This moment has ignited a broader conversation about the intersection of personal history, public advocacy, and the accountability expected from those who take moral stands. Whether Hostin chooses to engage with this revelation further or let the controversy fade remains to be seen. The lack of engagement from The View during the segment stood in stark contrast to the show's usual deep dives into controversial topics. This time, there was little more than a nod of acknowledgement, leaving many viewers frustrated. The issue seemed to be brushed aside, a notable departure from the show's standard approach of dissecting difficult conversations at length. Criticism quickly spread beyond Hostin herself, landing squarely on The View as a whole. Many accused the show of hypocrisy. This is the same platform that spends hours picking apart other people's missteps, one critic pointed out. But when it comes to their own, silence. This sentiment was echoed by Gutfeld, who wasted no time in calling out what he saw as a glaring double standard. If this had been someone on the right, they would have spent an entire week dragging them through the mud, Gutfeld said. But when it's sunny, crickets. Beyond the immediate controversy, Gutfeld's commentary touched on the broader cultural implications of the incident. He argued that the nation's growing fixation on identity politics and historical guilt often overshadows more pressing, tangible issues. We're so busy pointing fingers at the past that we forget to address the problems of the present, he stated. And that's the real tragedy here. Despite the mounting backlash, Hostin has yet to make a public statement addressing the criticism. Her silence has only fueled further speculation about her stance on the issue and whether she will eventually confront the controversy head-on. Some believe she will revisit the topic once the storm dies down, while others see her lack of response as an intentional effort to let the story fade away. As the debate rages on, both sides remain deeply entrenched in their positions. For many, this controversy is about more than just Hostin. It's a reflection of the larger national conversation on accountability, history, and the complexities of identity. It raises difficult questions. Should public figures be expected to reconcile their personal histories with their advocacy? Can someone champion a cause while grappling with an uncomfortable truth about their own lineage? For Hostin, this revelation could serve as a turning point, a moment to reflect, engage, and perhaps shift the conversation toward a more nuanced discussion. But for Gutfeld and his supporters, this is a prime example of why public figures must be willing to practice what they preach, particularly when addressing issues as complex and deeply rooted as racial injustice. The debate is far from over, and the implications of this moment will likely linger in public discourse. Should Hostin take this as an opportunity to bridge divides and foster understanding? Or has she already missed her chance? The question remains open, and the conversation continues.